Hey, watch me make some more end grain cutting boards. This wood's already been jointed and planed, so we go right to the table saw and cut everything at 2 inches wide. I've got some walnut, mahogany, cherry, maple, ash, white oak, purpleheart, and some paduk. Here we scribble a line on each side so we can run them through the drum sander and make sure they've been fully cleaned up. Makes for a much tighter glue joint. Our first glue up, we use Type Bond 3, and I glue them up in two sections under 13 inches so I can fit them through my planer. Once they've cured for a few days, I run them through the drum sander on both sides and make sure they're perfectly parallel. Once I have a clean edge, I set a stop block at about 2.5 inches, and that should leave me plenty of room after the flattening to keep these boards well over 2 inches. Here you see the slight chip out that's left over from the table saw blade, so I turn these on edge, scribble some lines, and run them through the drum sander one more time. At this point, I'd planned to glue these up at a 45-degree angle to give me a different pattern, but I realized my blanks weren't quite long enough, and it was just going to be a waste of wood and come out a lot smaller than I had anticipated. So I decided to just go with a traditional end grain. Now, before glue up, I wipe the paduk down with acetone. Helps get rid of any excess oil on those. Some of the exotic woods have some oil that you want to get rid of before glue up because it can compromise a glue joint. These glue ups were also done in January, so it was pretty cold out here in Pennsylvania. So I did end up bringing them inside for a few days to let them fully cure. And after curing for 3 or 4 days, I scribble on these with a pencil and send them back through the drum sander to get them perfectly flat. Here I use a few of the pieces of wood on the board to give me an accurate line as a reference and trim it with the track saw. And then I square up the other sides on the table saw. When I glued these walnut on, I made sure to leave the cracked ones on the edges just in case I planned to fill them with epoxy, but I wasn't really happy with them, so I just decided to trim them off. After 150 grit, I do my router work. So these both had a juice groove. I added a small 1/8 round over to the top, and I put my handles in. Here I'm using a cheap template I got on Amazon. I wanted to try something a little bit different for these handles. And it worked okay, but I had to square them up with a chisel. So I don't know if I would do it again, or maybe I just have to pull the template out a little bit further. And on the larger one, I elected to go with a large chamfer for handles. This is a handy little jig for marking your feet I got from another YouTuber. I'll link that in the description if you want to grab one for yourself. I raise the grain with water between 180 and 220, and then again after I've sanded with 220. The more you do it, the better finish you'll get. Then I wipe these down with mineral spirits. I had a few people comment that they didn't think that this was food safe, but after I wipe these down, I let them sit for 3 or 4 days, so the mineral spirits have fully evaporated by then. They're plenty safe. And then the finish that I'm going with is Howard's mineral oil. I applied 3 coats because these are so thick. You want to apply, the instructions say 3 to 4 coats for anything over an inch and a half. So I did 3 coats, just flooding it on, letting it sit for about an hour, and then wiping off any excess. And after those have sat for 3 or 4 days, I apply 3 coats of Howard's Butcher Block conditioner, which is mineral oil and beeswax. Again, apply it, let it sit for an hour or so, and then wipe off the excess. Let it sit for about a day or so, and then do it again. And one thing to note when you're building, depending on the time of year, it's January here in Pennsylvania, like I said. So when I bring these inside, I let them sit for a few weeks to make sure they've fully acclimated to the indoors. Here's that slight misalignment on the larger board, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with them. And as of posting this video, these are both available on my Etsy site. Thanks for watching.